Are you back? Okay, let's get to work, shall we? Shall we start? Okay. Si no buscas la palabra en el diccionario, yo la buscaré. If you don't look up the word in the dictionary, I'll look it up. If you don't look up is mira para arriba. I'm looking up. I'm looking up at the ceiling. I'm looking down at the floor. Pero look up tiene un significado que es buscar en plan de consulta. No buscar porque hayas perdido algo. This is to look for. If I lose my microphone, I will say, well, where's my microphone? I can't find it. I'm looking for it. Here it is. Okay. To look for. But to look up es consultar una lista, un listín, un guía telefónica o bien un diccionario, buscar una palabra, o un tren, etc. To look up. To look up. Y si no buscas la palabra en el diccionario, la buscaré yo. If you don't look up the word, if you don't look the word up, cuando dices el sustantivo y no el pronombre del dicho sustantivo, puedes poner up delante o detrás, como más te guste. If you don't look the word up in the dictionary, or if you don't look up the word in the dictionary, y la expresión in the dictionary sobra porque se entiende con look up, que es en el diccionario, cuando dices word. If you don't look up the word, if you don't look the word up, I'll look it up. Ahora sí es obligatorio insertar en medio, porque es un pronombre, it. If you don't look up the word, I'll look it up. But somebody has to look it up, because I don't know what it means. I have no idea what this word means. Okay, it's a strange word. Okay, and I don't know what it means. Okay, do you know what it means? You don't know what it means either? Bueno, busquémosla en el diccionario. Let's look it up in the dictionary. No mires atrás. Don't look back. If you want to progress, don't look back. I said, don't look back. Run. Corre como un diablo. Si quieres tener éxito en la vida sin mirar atrás. Don't measure your success by your competitors. Don't look at anybody. Okay? Run like a devil. Okay? But don't look back. Because your success has nothing to do with other people's success or failure. Your success is an absolute question. It's not relative. Okay? When I was 18, I won the championship in Oklahoma in the 400 meters, 400 metros lisos. I was the Oklahoma State champion in los institutos in Oklahoma. And I learned a lesson in that race. Aprendí una lección. For me, a very important lesson. I remember the race very well. Claro, I won. Of course, I remember the race. But I remember for a very special reason. Because I had won many other races, but this was an important race. This was the state final, a final, in the state. And there were 8 lanes, ocho calles, ocho calles. And in the 400 meters, you start in a staggered way. Because the curve is longer on the outside than on the inside, the person in the last lane starts apparently ahead of the other. But at the end, it's the same distance. So the person who runs in the outside lane starts far from the person on the inside lane, and then every lane is going farther out. So if you're in the outside lane, you can't see the people. When the official says, on your mark, get set, and you start running, you can't see your competitors. You're running blind. Correr ciego. So you can't run a tactical race watching your competitors. You have to run a strategic race based on your strategy to win and not on the tactics depending on your competitors. And in that race, the final, the lane assignments was by a draw. It was just by luck. And I had lane number 8. I couldn't see my competitors when I started. But I knew that if I looked, if I turned my head, I would lose about 1/10 of a second every time I looked. Y esto es cierto. This is true. When you're running a sprint, when you're a sprinter, if you turn and look, you lose 1/2 tenth, medio décimo de segundo, or un décimo entero when you look. Don't look, because it's counterproductive. And so I was on the outside lane and I started running, and I didn't look. I knew perfectly well that if out of my field of vision, if I saw another person, I was dead, because the person was on inside lane and would beat me in the end. So I ran the entire race, and I didn't see any of my competitors the whole time. I ran like a devil, como un diablo, running my own strategy in the outside lane. And that's should be. And I learned a lesson that my philosophy in life, se llama así, my philosophy in professional life is corriendo por el calle exterior, running in the outside lane. And run like a devil, but don't look at your competitors. Because if you have a good strategy, probably you will win. But never measure yourself. No te midas nunca por los demás. Don't measure yourself by others. Just run as fast as you can, okay? Y no mires atrás. Don't look back. Don't look back. La mujer de Lot. You remember, she looked back and she turned into a statue of salt. You remember? Abraham's cousin or cuñado? I can't remember. De Abraham. Lot and his family were the only good family in Sodom and Gomorrah. God wanted to destroy those two cities because they were full of sin. But there was one good family, and that was Lot. So God told Lot, says, take your family and leave. But don't turn around and look back. And so Lot gave these instructions to his family. He said, we're going to leave. Independientemente de lo que oigas, o no mires atrás. Regardless of what you hear, no matter what you hear, oigas lo que oigas. No matter what you hear, o bien, regardless of what you hear, don't look back. Don't turn around and look back. And as they were leaving and getting farther and farther away from Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot's wife, her curiosity was too much for her, and she turned around and looked back. And she turned into a statue of salt. Convertirse en is to tornarse en, to turn into. She turned into a statue of salt because she looked back. Never look back. Okay? Temptation, even if you're tempted, don't look back. Okay, un policía se me acercó. Yesterday, a policeman came up to me. A policeman came up to me. Yeah. He came up to me. Se me acercó a pie. Andando. He walked up to me. Él se me acercó corriendo. He ran up to me. Se me acercó a nado en la piscina. He swam up to me. Se me acercó arrastrándose a gatas. He crawled up to me. Okay? Se me acercó bailando el vals. He waltzed up to me. Se me acercó en su coche. He drove up to me. El denominador común aquí es up to. To come up to me es venir acercándose para preguntarme algo. Cuando te acercas a una persona para una consulta, para preguntar algo o decir algo, se dice up to. Luego, el modo de locomoción manda, o el ir o venir. Si yo me acerco a ti, I go up to you. Si tú te acercas a mí, you come up to me. Ahora, si me acerco a ti andando, puedo decir I walk up to you. Si me acerco a ti corriendo, I run up to you. Say, please, I need help. I run up to you. Ahora, un policía se me acercó. A policeman came up to me. Se me acercó andando. He walked up to me. Walked. Anduvo a mí, dice el original. Se me acercó corriendo. He ran up to me. Yo me acerqué al policía. I went, porque es yendo, no viniendo. I went up to him. I went up to the policeman. Le pedí un cigarro. I asked him for a cigarette. I asked him for a cigarette. Asked him. Cuando yo hablo, un truco fonético aquí. Cuando yo hablo inglés, when I speak my own language, salto la K en ask cuando hablo en el pasado. Asked is difficult for me to say. I asked him, mucho consonante seguido aquí. I asked him, y yo salto la K, como si la palabra fuera A-S-T. I asked him. Y no aspiro el H de him. I asked him. Asked him. I asked him for a cigarette. Le pedí un cigarro. Se lo pedí educadamente. I asked him for it politely. I said, excuse me, do you have a cigarette? Could I have a cigarette, please? Okay. Could I have a cigarette? Él sacó 2 cigarros de su paquete. He took 2 cigarettes out. He took 2 cigarettes out of his pocket. He took 2 cigarettes out. He didn't put 2 cigarettes into his packet. He took 2 cigarettes out of his packet. Y era un policía británico, por eso digo packet. Si fuera americano sería pack. He took 2 cigarettes out of his pack. Okay. Los sacó con su mano izquierda. Al revés. He took them out. He took them out. He took them out with his left hand. Okay. He took them out with his left hand. He took 2 cigarettes. Tratad. Bueno, sé que me estáis entendiendo perfectamente, pero podéis reproducir ágilmente estas frases en inglés. He took 2 cigarettes out of his pack. He took them out with his left hand. Apagó el cigarro que tenía en la boca. He put out. Apagar is to put out. Not to extinguish. If you have a fire extinguisher in the wall, if there's a fire in this room because of the lights, I won't stop the English class, but I'll say to you, excuse me, there's a electrical fire over here. If you don't mind, give me about 30 seconds. I'll go to the wall to get the fire extinguisher and whoosh, I'll put out the fire. To put out the fire. With the fire extinguisher, extintor, decimos toda la palabra larga. Fire extinguisher, extinguidor de fuego. Fire extinguisher, el extintor. And I'll put out, pero no extinguish. No solemos decir to extinguish, de extinguir. Apagar. To put out, to put out, to put out. To put out the fire. Si es una vela, to blow out. If it's a match, strike a match, I blow out the match. Ahora, to put out a cigarette is when you finish a cigarette, you put it out, okay, in the ashtray normally, okay, ashtray, cenicero, literalmente bandeja de ceniza. Tray es una bandeja. Okay, you put out the cigarette in the ashtray, but this policeman was a very special policeman. Apagó el cigarro. First, he took 2 cigarettes out of the pack. You remember? He took them out with his left hand, and he put the pack in his pocket, and then he put out the cigarette he had in his mouth. He had a cigarette in his mouth, and he put it out, but he put it out. He put out the cigarette he had in his mouth, pero lo apagó con sus dedos. He put it out with his fingers. Psst. Okay? And his fingers were not wet. He didn't moisten. Moisten es humedecer. Como humedeces un sello antes de pegarlo. If you want to stick a stamp, to stick a stamp on an envelope, first you moisten the stamp normally with your tongue. If you have 500 stamps because you're doing a mailing, I recommend a sponge, not your tongue, okay? All right. But in any case, he took the cigarettes out, and he put out the cigarette in his mouth with his fingers, okay? Ahora, si no apagas el incendio, lo apagaré yo. If you don't put out the fire, I'll put it out. If you don't put out the fire, notas que pongo the fire después de out. If you don't put out the fire, también puedo decir if you don't put the fire out. Pero la segunda frase, parte de la frase, obligatorio en medio. Yo lo apagaré. Si no apagas el incendio, yo lo apagaré. If you don't put out the fire, I'll put it out. Si no apagas la vela, yo lo apagaré, yo la apagaré. If you don't blow out the candle, I'll blow it out. Y por último, si no apagas la luz, la apagaré yo. If you don't turn off with the switch, or switch off, también se puede decir. If you don't turn off the lights, plural, I'll turn them off. Ahora, si es la luz en singular. If you don't turn off the light, I'll turn it off. 3 formas, por lo menos, de decir apagar. Un incendio, una vela y la luz. To put out, to blow out, and turn off the light. Or turn out, también se puede decir. Si no pones la luz, la pondré yo. If you don't turn on, lo contrario. Turn off, turn on. If you don't turn on the light, I'll turn it on. Si no pones la radio, no, si tú pones la radio, yo la apagaré, ya verás. If you turn on the radio, I'll turn it off. And if you turn it back on, I'll turn it back off. Until we start having a fight. I don't want to listen to the radio, so don't turn it on. I'll turn it off. Si no subes el volumen, lo subiré yo. If you don't turn up the volume, I'll turn it up. Si no bajas el volumen, lo bajaré yo. If you don't turn down the volume, I'll turn it down. El verbo to turn admite muchas preposiciones que cambian su significado. Los famosos phrasal verbs o verbos compuestos, donde la preposición manda un poco en el significado. To turn over es como una tortilla española. The most critical moment of preparing a Spanish omelet is when you turn it over. And you need to be careful because you can destroy the omelet when you turn it over. Okay, now, turn around is algo vertical. You turn around like this. To turn it around. To turn the microphone around. Now, to turn the microphone over is like this, okay? To turn it around. Okay? Now, to turn into is convertirse en. If you say the magic word, you can turn me into a frog, an English teaching frog. La única rana que enseña inglés. But you need to know the magic word. And it's not abracadabra, and it's not alakazam, and it's not hocus pocus gingerocus. And it's not eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Pinto, pinto, gorgorito in inglés. No, it's not. There's a magic word. If you can find the magic word and you say it, even from your sofa or your couch or your bed at home, if you say it, boom, me convertiré en rana. I will turn into a frog. And then the only way for me to turn into a human being, a human teacher, again, is if I am kissed by a person, a woman who truly loves me, okay? And that's not easy, okay? So I hope you don't say the magic word, because I don't want to turn into, okay, a frog. To turn over, to turn around, to turn into, okay, to turn out. Todo saldrá bien, ya verás, everything will turn out fine, don't worry. You worry too much. Why? I'm not worried. I have to fill 25 minutes of this program with English. And every time, logro hacerlo. Every time I manage to do it. I don't worry. So, everything will turn out fine. Don't worry. Todo saldrá bien. Ya verás. Everything will turn out fine. Everything will turn out okay. There is no need to worry. Es una frase hecha. No hay por qué preocuparse. En inglés decimos no hay necesidad a preocuparse, decimos en inglés. There is no need to worry. De hecho, se dice tanto que quitamos there is. No need to worry, no need to worry. No hay que preocuparse, no need to worry. Tranquilo, descuida, no need to worry, no need to worry. Everything's okay. Everything will turn out okay. Turn on is encender. To turn on the radio. To turn on the TV. To turn on the light. To turn me on. Oof. Esa chica me enciende la pasión. She turns me on. Wow. En este caso soy yo, el objeto, el complemento directo. She turns me on. Uy, este tipo de música me enciende la pasión. This type of music really turns me on. I love it. And that woman, she turns me off. This type of food, yuck, turns me off. Se me apaga la pasión. Okay? So to turn around, turn away. Okay, to turn away. I needed your help and you turned away and didn't give me your help. Okay. All right. To turn up, subir el volumen. It's too loud. Turn it down. I can't hear it. Turn it up. Turn up the volume. Turn it up now. Turn down the volume. Turn it down now. Y por último, to turn up también es to show up. Hacer acto de presencia. Me alegro que hayas aparecido aquí en escena. I'm glad you turned up. We were expecting you 20 minutes ago, but you didn't turn up until now. But thank God you turned up because we need your help. Okay, thank God because we need your help. El profesor no se presentó para la clase. The teacher didn't show up for the class. He didn't show up. He didn't turn up for the class. Can you imagine if I didn't turn up for this class? Can you imagine? The floor technician, the sound technician, the mixer, the producer, the director, the light technician, all these people sitting and waiting, and I don't show up. Do you think they would get a bit irritated? I don't know. They're paid for this. I don't pay them. The producers pay them. Okay, but they would be paid anyway. Probably they would be happy saying, we're getting paid and we're not working. But I think after a while they would get a bit irritated. Say, este no se ha presentado. No se ha presentado el profe. The teacher didn't show up or hasn't shown up. Okay, si no cancelas la... Bueno, escúchame, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. Son primos hermanos, listen to me. Listen to the music. Listen to the rain. Listen to the sound of the air conditioning. Something's wrong. Algo falla en el aparato, el aire acondicionado. Something's wrong. Listen to it. Listen to the noise it's making. It's a strange noise. Listen to this cup. Can't you tell? It's ceramic. Listen to it. Listen to the table. It's made of wood. It's not solid wood. It's hollow. Esta mesa es hueca. Yeah, it's not solid. Yeah, it's not solid. Okay? I can tell. Lo sé. I can tell. Listen to it. Listen to it. Listen to, listen to, listen to, listen to. Siempre van juntos excepto cuando dices solamente escucha. Listen. Pero si dices escúchale, listen to him. Tú entra en la ecuación siempre. Cuando hay cualquier complemento después, listen necesita su amigo tú para protegerle. Listen to Pepe, listen to me, listen to the music of the falling rain, telling me, etc. Si no cancelas la reunión, mi amigo, la cancelaré yo. If you don't call off the meeting, I'll call it off. But it's raining cats and dogs outside, and I'm not going to walk across that long parking lot, that big parking lot, to go to the meeting room. The meeting room is 350 meters away. And there isn't a tunnel to that little building. There isn't a passageway above ground. And I have an umbrella, but it's raining cats and dogs, and I want to call off the meeting. In fact, the weather report says that we're going to have hurricane winds. Winds reaching 130 kilometers per hour and constant rain. So I think it's better for us to call off the meeting, que es cancelarlo. We can postpone it until next week, but for the moment, we need to cancel it to call off the meeting. Y si no cancelas la reunión, la cancelaré yo. If you don't call off the meeting, I'll call it off. If you don't call off the meeting, I'll call it off. And now, I'm going to call off this class. No, I'm not going to call it off. I'm simply going to finish it. Because the class is over and the time is up. Y esta serrina serán los maderos de San Juan. Y colorín colorado, este cuento, this class has acabado. It's been a pleasure. I will see you again another day, okay? Thank you.